here to try to find one. I don't see anybody here tonight who could possibly pull a serious code. Married to me, talked to me about his wife the whole time. How very trivial of him. Terribly trivial. What did your man talk about? About myself, of course. And were you interested? Not in the smallest degree. What martyrs we are to him, Margaret, and how well it becomes us, Olivia.
Lord Caversham.
Good evening, Lady Chiltern. Has my good-for-nothing young son been here?
I don't think Lord Goring has arrived yet. Why do you call Lord Goring good for nothing?
Because he leads such an idle life.
But how can you say such a thing? Why, he rides a throw every morning at 11, he goes to the opera 3 times a week, he changes his clothes 5 times a day, and he dines out every night of the season. You don't call that being an idle life, do you?
You are a very charming lady.
How sweet of you to say that, Lord Caversham. Do come to us more often.
Never go anywhere now. I'm sick of London society. Shouldn't mind being introduced to my own tailor. He always votes on the right side, but object strongly to being sent down to dinner with my wife's milliner. Never could stand Lady Catherine's bonnets.
Well, I adore London society. I think it is immensely improved. It is entirely composed now of beautiful idiots and brilliant lunatics, just what a society should be.
And which is Goring, a beautiful idiot or the other thing?
I have been obliged for the present to place Lord Goring in a category quite by himself, but he is devoted, charming.
It's what?
I hope to let you know very soon.
Lady Markby and Mrs. Cheveley.
Oh, dear Gertrude, so kind of you to let me bring my friend Mrs. Cheveley. 2 such charming women should know each other.
I think Mrs. Cheveley and I have met before. I did not know she had married a second time.
Oh, well, nowadays, people marry as often as they can, don't they? Duchess! Dear Duchess, and how is the Duke? Brain still weak, I suppose. Well, it is only to be expected. His dear father was just the same.
But have we really met before, Lady Chiltern? I can't remember where. I've been out of England so long. We were at school together, Mrs. Cheveley. Indeed? I've forgotten all about my school days. I have a vague impression that they were detestable, but I'm not surprised. Do you know, I'm not looking forward to meeting your clever husband, Lady Chiltern. Since he's been at the Foreign Office, he's been so much talked of in Vienna. They actually succeeded in spelling his name right in the newspapers. I hardly think there will be much in common between you and my husband, Mrs. Cheveley.
Good evening, Lady Markby. I hope you brought Sir John with you.
Oh, I've got a much more charming person than Sir John. Really, Sir John's temper, now that he's taken to politics, has become quite unbearable. Now that the House of Commons is trying to become useful, it does a great deal of harm.
Oh, well, I hope not, Lady Markby. At any rate, we do our best to waste the public time, don't we? But who is this charming person you would be kind enough to bring to us?
Oh, her name is Mrs. Cheveley. One of the Dorsets or Cheveleys, I suppose. Though I don't really know. Families are so mixed nowadays. Indeed, as a rule, everybody turns out to be somebody else. She's just private in Vienna.
I think I know who you mean.
Oh, she goes everywhere there and has such pleasant scandals about all her friends. I really must go to Vienna next winter.
Pray, point out Mrs. Cheveley to me. I should like to see her.
Oh, let me introduce you, my dear. Sir Robert Chiltern is dying to know you.
Everyone is dying to know the brilliant Mrs. Cheveley. Our attaches at Vienna write to us about nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. An acquaintance that begins with a compliment is sure to develop into a true friendship. And I find that I know Lady Chiltern already.
Really?
Yes, she just reminded me now that we were at school together. I remember it perfectly. She always got the good conduct prize.
Oh, what prizes did you win, Mrs. Cheveley?
My prizes came a little later on in life. I don't think any of it's a good kind.
I'm sure they were for something charming.
I don't know that women are always rewarded for being charming. In fact, they're usually punished for it.
Oh, what an appalling philosophy. May I ask, at heart, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Those seem to be the only 2 fashionable religions left to us nowadays.
Oh, I'm neither. Besides, both of them are merely poses.
You prefer to be natural.
Sometimes, but it's such a difficult pose to keep up.
I wonder, what would those modern psychological novelists of whom we hear so much say to such a thing?
The strength of women comes from the fact that psychology cannot explain us. Women can't be analyzed. Men can. We can only be adored.
You think science cannot grapple with the problem of women?
Science can never grapple with the irrational. That's why it has no future before it in this world.
And women represent the irrational.
Well-dressed women do.
Well, I'm afraid I can hardly agree with you there. But do sit down. And now tell me, what makes you believe you're really Vienna far from gloomy London? Or perhaps the question is indiscreet.
Questions are never indiscreet. Answers sometimes are.
Well, at any rate, may I know if it is politics or pleasure?
Politics are my only pleasure. You see, nowadays it's not fashionable for a woman to flirt till she's 40 or to be romantic till she's 45. So, we poor women who are under 30, or say we are, have only politics or philanthropy open to us. And philanthropy seems to me to become simply the refuge of those who wish to annoy their fellow creatures. I prefer politics. I think they are more becoming.
Political life is a noble career.
Sometimes, Sir Robert. And sometimes it's a great nuisance. And sometimes it's a clever game.
Which do you find?
A combination of all three.
Allow me.
Thanks.
But you have not told me yet, what makes you honor our London so suddenly? Our season is almost over.
Oh, I don't care about the London season. It's far too matrimonial. People are either hunting for husbands or hiding from them. I wanted to meet you. It's quite true. You know what a woman's curiosity is. Almost as great as a man's. I wanted immensely to meet you and to ask you to do something for me.
I hope it is not a little thing, Mrs. Jeebley. I find that little things are so very difficult to do.
No, Sir Robert. I don't think it is quite a little thing.
I'm so glad you tell me what it is.
Later on. And after we walk through your beautiful house, I hear your pictures are charming. Poor Baron Arnheim. You remember Baron? He used to tell me you had some wonderful growth.
Did you know Baron Arnheim well?
Intimately. Did you?
At one time.
Wonderful man, wasn't he?
He was very remarkable in many ways.
I often think it was such a pity that he never wrote his memoirs. They would have been most interesting. Lord Goring.
Ah, my dear Arthur. Good evening. Mrs. Jeebley, allow me to introduce you to Lord Goring, the idlest man in London.
I have met Lord Goring before.
I do not think you would remember me, Mrs. Jeebley.
And are you still a bachelor?
I believe so.
How very romantic.
Oh, no, I'm not romantic at all. I'm far too young. I leave the romance for my seniors. Tell me, will you be staying in London long?
That depends partly on the weather, partly on cooking, and partly on Sir Robert.
You're not going to plunge us into another European war, I hope.
There is no danger at present.
You are very late.
Have you missed me?
Awfully.
Then I'm sorry that I did not stay away longer. I like being missed.
How selfish of you.
I am very selfish.
Lord Goring, you are always telling me your bad qualities.
I have only told you half of them as of yet, Miss Mabel.
And are the others very bad?
Quite dreadful. When I think of them at night, I go to sleep at once.
Well, I would like to know bad qualities. I wouldn't have you part with one of them.
Oh, how very nice of you to say. But then again, you are very nice. I do have a question for you, Miss Mabel. Who brought Mrs. Cheveley here?
I don't know. I think Lady Martha brought her. Why do you ask?
No, I've not seen her in many years, that's all.
What sort of woman is she?
She's a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
I dislike her already.
That shows your good taste.
May I have some pleasure of escorting you to the music room, mademoiselle?
Delighted, people. Simply delighted. Are you coming to the music room?
Not that there's any music going on, Miss
not understanding.
Well, sir, what are you doing here? Wasting your time as usual? You should be in bed, sir. You keep too late hours. Why, I heard of you the other night, dancing till 4 o'clock at Lady Roberts.
Oh, only 3:45, sir.
Can't make out how you stand London society when things go to the dogs. Well, damn nobody's talking about nothing.
But I love talking about nothing. It's the only thing I know anything about.
You seem to me to be living entirely for pleasure.
Oh, what else is there to live for, Father? Nothing ages like happiness.
You are heartless, sir. Very heartless.
I hope not, Father. I hope not. Good evening, Lady Basildon.
Are you here? I had no idea you ever came to a political party.
I simply adore political parties. They're the only place left to us that no one talks politics.
I adore talking politics. I talk them all day long, but I can bear listening to them. I don't know how the unfortunate been in the house talking to long debate.
By not listening.
Really?
Of course. You see, it is a very dangerous thing to listen. If one listens, one might be convinced, and a man who allows himself to be convinced by an argument is thoroughly unreasonable indeed.
That accounts for so much of men that I have never understood, and so much of women that their husbands never appreciate. Our husbands never appreciate anything in us. We have to go to others, that. Yes, no ways to others, have we not?
And these are the views of the two women who have known to have the most admirable husbands in London.
Well, that's exactly what we can't stand. My Reginald is quite hopelessly faultless. He really is unendurably so. There's the smallest element of excitement in knowing him.
How terrible.
My Basildon is quite as bad. He is as domestic as if he was a bachelor. My poor Lydia, we have married perfect husbands and are well punished for it.
I should think it was the husbands who were punished.
Oh, dear no. They are as happy as possible. And as for trusting us, well, it's tragic how much they trust us. Perfectly tragic.
Poor comic Lady Basildon.
Certainly not comic, Lord Goring. How unkind of you to suggest such a thing. I'm afraid Lord Goring is in the camp of the enemy as usual. I saw him talking to that Mrs. Cheveley when he came in.
Handsome woman, Mrs. Cheveley.
Please do not praise other women in our presence. You might wait for us to do that.
I did wait.
Well, we are not going to praise her. I think she was the hour on Monday night, and told Tommy Ruffin and some of that, as far as she could see. London society was entirely made up of dowdies and ladies.
And she's quite right, too. All of the men are dowdies and all the women are dandies, aren't they?
Do you really think that's what Mrs. Cheveley meant?
Of course.
Why are you talking about Mrs. Cheveley? Everybody is talking about Mrs. Cheveley. Lord Goring says, what did you say, Lord Goring? She was a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
Oh, what a horrid combination!
So very natural.
I like looking at geniuses and listening to beautiful people.
Oh, how perfectly morbid of you, Mrs. Marchmont.
I am so glad to hear you say that. Marchmont and I have been married for 7 years, and he has never once told me that I was morbid, but so painfully unobservant. I have always said, dear Margaret, that you were the most morbid person in London. But you are always sympathetic to Lydia. Mwah, mwah.
Is it morbid to have a desire for food? I have a great desire for food. Lord Goring, will you give me some supper?
With pleasure.
How did you think? You hardly talked to me all the evening.
How could I? You went away with the child debilitist.
You must have followed. Soup would have been only polite. I don't think I like you all this evening.
I like you immensely.
I wish you would show it.
supper. Take me home.
But I will come down with you.
With pleasure.
Like some supper, Miss Marchmont?
Thank you, Mr. Montfort. I never touch supper, but I will sit beside you and watch you.
Are you going to visit any of our country houses before you leave England, Mrs. G?
Oh no, I can't stand your English house parties. In England, people actually try to be brilliant at breakfast. My stay really depends on you.
Seriously?
Quite seriously. I want to talk to you about a great political and financial scheme, about this Argentine canal company, in fact.
Oh, what a tedious practical subject for you to talk about, Mrs. G.
Oh, I like tedious practical subjects. What I don't like are tedious practical people. Besides, you are interested, I know, in international canal schemes. You were Lord Bradley's secretary, weren't you, when the government bought the Suez Canal shares?
Yes, but the Suez Canal was a great and splendid undertaking. It gave us our direct route to India and had imperial value. It was necessary that we should have control. This Argentine scheme was a commonplace stock exchange swindle.
A speculation, Sir Robert. A brilliant, daring speculation.
It is a swindle, Mrs. Cheatley. Let us call things by their proper names. It makes matters simpler. We have all the information about it at the Foreign Office. In fact, I sent out a special commission to inquire into the matter privately, and they report that the works have hardly begun. And as for the money already subscribed, no one seems to know what has become of it. The whole thing is a second hand, with not a quarter of the chance of success. That is a fair. I hope you have not invested in it. I'm sure you're far too clever to have done it.
I've invested very largely in it.
Who could have advised you to do such a foolish thing?
Your old friend, mine,
Who?
Baron Arnheim.
Ah, yes, I remember hearing at the time of his death that he was mixed up in the whole affair.
It was his last romance. His last but one.
But you have not seen my crows yet. They're in the music room. Crows seem to go with music, don't they? May I show them to you?
I am not in a mood tonight for silver twilights or rose-light dawns. I want to talk business.
I'm afraid I have no advice to give you, Mrs. Cheatley, except to interest yourself in something less dangerous. The success of the canal depends, of course, on the attitude of England, and I am going to lay the report of the commissioners before the House tomorrow night.
That you must not do, Sir Robert. In your own interest, to say nothing of mine, you must not do that.
In my own interest? My dear Mrs. Cheatley, what do you mean?
My dear Sir Robert, I will be quite frank with you. I want you to withdraw the report that you intend to lay before the House on the grounds that you have reasons to believe that the commissioners have been misinformed or prejudiced or something. Then I want you to say a few words to the effect that the government is going to reconsider the question and that you have reason to believe that the canal, if completed, will be of great international value. You know the sorts of things in which to say in cases of this kind. Few ordinary platitudes will do. In modern life, nothing produces such an effect as a good platitude. It makes the whole world kin. Will you do that for me?
Mrs. Cheatley, you cannot be serious in making me such a proposition.
I am quite serious.
Pray, allow me to believe that you are not.
Ah, but I am. And if you do what I ask you, I will pay you very handsomely.
Pay?
Yes.
I'm afraid I don't quite understand what you mean.
How very disappointing. And I come all the way from Vienna in order that you should thoroughly understand me.
I fear I don't.
My dear Sir Robert, you are a man of the world. You have your price, I suppose. Everyone does nowadays. The drawback is that most people are so dreadfully expensive. I know I am. I hope you'll be more reasonable in your terms.
You have lived so long abroad, Mrs. Cheatley, that you seem to be unable to realize that you are talking to an English gentleman. I'll call your carriage for you.
I realize that I'm talking to a man who laid the foundation of his fortune by selling to a stock exchange speculator a cabinet secret.
What are you talking about?
I mean that I know the true origin of your wealth in Korea. And I've got your letter, too.
What letter?
The letter you wrote to Baron Arnheim while you were Lord Radley's secretary, telling the Baron to buy Suez Canal shares. A letter written 3 days before the government announced its own purchase.
It's not true.
You thought the letter had been destroyed. How foolish of you. It's in my possession.
The affair to which you allude was no more than a speculation. The House of Commons had not yet passed the bill. It might have been rejected.
It was a swindle, Sir Robert. Let us call things by their proper names. It makes everything simpler. And now I'm going to sell you that letter. And the price I ask for is your public support of this Argentine scheme. You made your fortune out of one canal. You must help me and my friends make ours out of another.
It is infamous what you propose. Infamous.
Oh, no. This is the game of life, as we all have to play it, sooner or later.
I cannot do what you ask me.
You have to. You know you're standing at the edge of a precipice. It is not for you to make terms, it is for you to accept them. Supposing you refuse.
What then?
My dear Sir Robert, what then? You are ruined. That is all. Remember to what point your Puritanism in England has brought you. In old days, nobody pretended to be a bit better than one's neighbor. In fact, to be a bit better than one's neighbor was considered excessively vulgar and middle class. Nowadays, with our modern mania for morality, everyone has to pose as a paragon of purity, incorruptibility, and all the other seven deadly virtues. And what is the result? You all go over like 9 pins, one after the other. Scandal used to lend charm or at least interest to a man. Now they crush him. And yours is a very nasty scandal. You couldn't survive it. If it were known that as a young man, secretary to a great and important minister, you sold the cabinet secret, and that was the origin of your wealth and career, you would be hounded out of public life. You would disappear completely. And after all, Sir Robert, why should you sacrifice your entire future rather than deal diplomatically with your enemy? For the moment, I'm your enemy. I admit it. And I'm much stronger than you are. Of course, I have not talked morality to you. In fairness, you must admit that I spared you that. Years ago, you did a clever and unscrupulous thing. It turned out a great success. You owed to it your fortune and position. And now you've got to pay for it. Sooner or later, we all have to pay for what we do. You have to pay now. Before I leave you tonight, you must promise to suppress your report to the House and speak in favor of this scheme.
What you ask is impossible.
You must make it possible. You are going to make it possible. My dear Sir Robert, you know what your English newspapers are like. Suppose that when I leave this house, I go down to some newspaper office and give them the scandal and the proofs of it. Think of their loathsome joy, of the delight they would have in dragging you down, of the mud and the mire they would plunge you in. Think of the hypocrite with his greasy smile, pinning his leading article.
Stop! You want me to withdraw the report and make a short speech stating I believe there are possibilities in this scheme?
Those are my terms.
I will give you any sum of money that you want.
My dear Sir Robert, even you are not rich enough to buy back your past. No man is.
I will not do what you ask me. I will not.
You have to. If you don't...
Wait. What did you propose? You said you would give me back my letter, didn't you?
Yes, that is agreed. I will be in the ladies' gallery tomorrow night at 11:30. If by that time you've made an announcement in the terms that I wish, I shall give you back your letter. But the prettiest things, and the best, or at any rate the most suitable compliment I can think of. I intend to play quite fairly with you. One should always play fairly when one has the winning cards. The Baron taught me that, amongst other things.
Wait, you must let me have time to consider your proposal.
No, you have to settle now.
In a week, 3 days.
Impossible, I have to telegraph the answers.
My God, what brought you into my life?
Circumstances.
Wait, go. I consent. The report shall be withdrawn and I will arrange for a question to be put to me on the subject.
Thank you. I knew we should come to an amicable agreement. I understood your nature from the first. I analyzed you, so you do not adore me. And now you can get my carriage for me, Sir Robert. I see the people coming up for supper, and Englishmen always get so romantic at their meal, and that bores me dreadfully.
yourself. Sir Robert is most entertaining, isn't that?
Most entertaining. I've enjoyed myself immensely.
Oh, he has a very interesting, brilliant career. And he is married a most admirable wife. Lady Chiltern is a woman of the very highest principles, I'm glad to say. I'm a little too old now myself, in trouble about setting a good example, but I always admire her. And Lady Chiltern has had a very nobling effect on life, though her dinner parties are rather dull sometimes. But one can have everything, can one? And now I must go, dear. Shall I call you tomorrow?
Thanks.
We might drive to the park at 5. Look, everything is so fresh in the park.
Except the people.
Well, perhaps people are a little jaded. I have observed that the season, as it goes on, produces a kind of softening of the brains. However, anything is better than high intellectual pressure. It makes the noses of the young girls so particularly large, and nothing is so difficult to marry as a large nose meant to like them. I must go now, dear. Goodbye, Gertrude.
What a beautiful house you have, Lady Chiltern. I've spent a delightful evening. It's been so interesting getting to know your clever husband. Why did you wish to meet my husband, Mrs. Cheatley? Oh, I will tell you. I wanted to talk to him about this Argentine Canal Company, of which I dare say you've heard. And I thought him most susceptible to reason, I mean, a rare thing in a man. I converted him in 10 minutes. He's going to make an announcement in the house tomorrow night. You must go to the ladies' gallery to hear him. There must be some mistake. That speed could never have my husband's support. Oh, I assure you, it's all settled. I don't regret my tedious journey from Vienna now. It's been a great success, but of course, for the next 24 hours, the whole thing is a dead secret. A secret? Between whom? Between your husband and myself.
Your carriage is here, Mrs. Cheatley.
Thanks. Good night, Lady Chiltern. Good night, Lord Loring. I'm at Claridge's. You think you might leave a card?
If you wish it, Mrs. Cheatley.
Well, don't be so solemn about it. I should be obliged to leave a card on you. Will you see me down to Robert? Now that we have the same interests at heart, I'm sure we'll be great friends. I hope.
What a horrid woman!
You should go to bed, Miss Mabel.
Lord Corey!
My father told me to go to bed an hour ago. I don't see why I should give you the same advice. I always pass on good advice. It is the only thing to do. He never does oneself any good.
Lord Loring always ordering me out of the room. I am most courageous of you, especially as I am not going to bed for hours. You may come and sit with me in the body and talk about anything in the world except for the Royal Academy, Mrs. Cheatley, or novels in the Scotch dialect. What's this? Someone has dropped a diamond brooch. Oh, I wish it were mine. Gertrude will never let me wear anything but pearls, and I am so thoroughly sick of pearls. They make one look so plain, so good, so intellectual. Wonder who the brooch belongs to.
I wonder who dropped it.
It is a lovely brooch.
Yes, it is a handsome bracelet.
It isn't a bracelet, it's a brooch.
It should be worn as a bracelet.
What are you doing?
Oh, my dear Mabel, I have a rather strange request to make of you.
Oh, pray do. Oh, I've been waiting for it all the evening.
Don't mention to anyone that I have taken charge of this brooch, and if anyone is to write a letter after it and claim it, let me know at once.
That's a strange request.
You see, I gave this brooch to someone many years ago.
You did?
Yes.
Then I am afraid I must bid you good night. Good night, Gertrude.
Good night, dear. You saw the Lady Margaret brought tonight.
Yes. It's quite an unpleasant surprise. I wonder what she was here for.
Apparently to try and lure Robert towards some fraudulent scheme in which she is interested in the Argentine Canal effect.
She surely has mistaken her man, hasn't
She is incapable of understanding a upright nature like mine.
she? Good night, dear children.
Good night, Lord Loring.
Oh, Arthur, you are not going. Do wait a little while.
Oh, afraid I can't. I'm going to check in at the heart box. I have heard that they have a mauve Hungarian band that is playing mauve Hungarian music. See you soon. Bye.
How beautiful you look tonight, Gertrude.
Robert, it's not true, is it? You're not going to support this Argentine analysis scheme. You couldn't.
Who told you I intended to do so?
That woman who was just gone out, Mrs. Chiefly, she calls herself now. She seemed to taunt me with it. Robert, I know this woman, you don't. We were at school together. She was untruthful, dishonest, and evil influence on everyone whose trust or friendship she could win. I hated, I despised her. She was a thief. She stole things. She was sent away for being a thief. Why did you let her influence you?
Gertrude, what you say may be true, but it happened many years ago. It is best forgotten.